I almost cut into the leaf. Just spray it everywhere. It's very beautiful but very, very tiny. Hi plant queens, welcome back to my channel. I'm Saab and today we are going to talk about how to rehab plants that you import from abroad. So I've actually unboxed one import from Indonesia yesterday. I will insert a clip right now. So you will see that it came in a pretty large box and the actual plant was actually very, very small, and it came in soil, which is pretty important, pretty significant, because usually if you import plants, they will come uprooted. This was in the mail for I think 12 days, but I will put the correct number of days up on the screen. So the plant wasn't as stressed as I expected it to be, but it was much smaller than what I thought it would be. So this is an Anthurium crystallinum silver blush, by the way. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. And if a plant is in soil when you import it, the usual rule is to kind of leave it in soil and not move it for a few weeks. But I just had a gut feeling that this is way too much soil for this plant, and I thought that the seller might have just placed it in the substrate without really growing it there, you know? So as I uprooted it, I did notice that the roots weren't really grasping onto the soil, meaning my hunch was probably right, that it wasn't really grown there and was just put in that pot right when it was about to be shipped. And what I did was wash off all the soil and placed it in a bottle of water, which brings us here today. It has been about 24 hours since that video, and you will see that it's still in the same bottle. And this is the plant. This is a closer look at the plant. It's very beautiful but very, very tiny. So we're going to rehab this plant, another one that I'm unboxing for you in a bit. But the reason why we can't just rehab this in water is because Anthuriums don't really enjoy sitting in water. If you're familiar with Plants Meow's channel, she's very good at caring for Anthuriums, and she has mentioned that Anthuriums do tend to rot if you leave them in water, which is also why I transferred this big guy into pond as well. She wasn't enjoying Lekka very much, which, you know, just confirms the fact that you shouldn't leave Anthuriums sitting in water for too long. Now that's out of the way, let's unbox this other one before we get into the next steps. So after I unbox this, I will do the exact same thing. It seems like it is in soil as well because there's a pot here. I'll take it off the soil and put it in water for 24 hours. And then we'll just get to the next steps later. I almost cut into the leaf. Okay, how do I do this? Alright. So here she is. As I suspected, this is in soil, and this actually looks pretty good as well. I would think this was in transit for about the same time, around 12 days. Again, I will put it on the screen if that's wrong. Yeah, okay, that looks pretty good. This is an Anthurium radicans. So it's characterized by those very kind of textured corrugated leaves. But for now, actually, I forgot to mention, the first thing I want to do is treat this for pests. So I have here my bottle of like my pest treatment solution, and this is just alcohol, dish soap, and water. Just spray it everywhere. Okay, that should be good. And now let's take a look at the roots. Okay, so here's what we have so far. So that's not looking too good because there's this cardboard thing and it's very soggy. As I thought, the soil is very, very moist and soggy and just generally not good. If I tug on it, there is some resistance. So I don't know if I should uproot this because unlike the other one, I think this one might have grown in this substrate, but then again it is way too wet. But if I tug it, like, it's not coming out. So I think for this one, I might leave it here. I mean, it would be interesting as well just to see if the other one recovers better than this one if I leave it in soil. So yeah, let's just leave this one in soil. And as for the silver blush, I am actually going to pot this up today. The leaves have perked up compared to yesterday. When it arrived, it was a little bit floppy, which means that the water worked or did its job. And yeah, here is what the roots look like. So that's a pretty good root system for the size of the plant. I'm just going to remove these yellow leaves. There, it doesn't need that anymore. And over here I have like a tiny pot full of pon. If you don't know what pon is, I have a bunch of videos on my channel which you can check out. It's probably my favorite substrate for rooting things, rehabbing things. Okay, so now I'm just going to pot this up. Okay, so this is what she looks like now. And I expect that it will probably drop more leaves as it acclimates to my environment. If you're importing a plant, it may arrive looking perfect, but you can expect during the acclimation process that it will show signs of stress, so drop maybe a few leaves, but don't freak out, it's totally normal. What I want to do after this is just wash the pon, because this is DIY pon and I haven't washed it yet, and then use my Ziploc Jail method, which basically means I will put this in a Ziploc bag for a few weeks and just keep it moist. Usually I only have to spray maybe once every 2 weeks, not completely water so it doesn't get root rot. And as for this other one, I will just keep this outside but in front of my humidifier. So I will insert clips of what this looks like inside the Ziploc, where it will receive high humidity and I would say medium to bright indirect light under a grow light. And the other one will just be right next to a humidifier, which means it is getting about 90% humidity most of the time, and it should do okay. And I'll come back to you in about 2 or 3 weeks with an update. Hopefully we'll see new growth, or at least the plants will be alive by then. So I'll see you then. Bye!
3 weeks later.
Hi, so it has been 3 weeks since I last saw you guys, and today we are going to take a look at how the Anthuriums are doing. So they're both doing okay. One is doing better than the other. And now I'll show you the one that's in soil. So here he is. As you can see, not a lot has happened, except that the soil has finally dried up, because this was soaking wet when we got it, which had me a little bit worried. And now it's pretty much completely dry. And there's no new growth or anything that I can see. But here, oh no, this was, I think, the newest leaf that was still hardening off. And it came in a little bit wonky, but nothing has yellowed off or died. So that's a good sign for me. What I'm going to do with this after this video is transfer it into pon, just because it is my preferred medium. And as you will see in a little bit, I do get better results from it. So with this plant, I just kept it next to a humidifier and kept it in its original substrate. And I didn't really get the result that I wanted from rehabbing the plant. Which brings us on to our next plant. And look at her today. It's dripping water everywhere. That right there, here, is new growth. So that's really impressive, because that means that the plant has acclimated well. We are getting a bit of a yellowing tip here, and the bottom leaf is yellowing a bit as well, but that's totally okay. As I mentioned at the start of this video, you can expect some yellowing from the original leaves that the plant was shipped with, but because there's new growth, I know now that this plant has fully acclimated and is basically ready to live its life in my environment. So this was in the Ziploc bag the entire time, and my next step would be pretty much the same steps as my Ziploc Jail video. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out, which is to half open the Ziploc bag for about a week, and then finally after half opening it, I'll just take it out of the bag after that week is over, and then it can live in my normal environment and my normal humidity. So I'm very happy about that, and I definitely saw better results with this. I'm not sure if I can show you, like, zoom in, future editing me, but there are new roots coming out of the bottom there actually, which is really a sign that it's very, very happy. So while this guide is, for Anthuriums, because I was acclimating my Anthurium imports, I would say this is applicable to different genre as well. I've done this with philodendrons and Hoyas. The only remaining tips that I would say is if you're rehabbing a particularly large plant and you can't exactly, put it in a Ziploc bag or in a prop box, just try putting it next to a humidifier. I would say upping the humidity is really the answer to a lot of questions about acclimating plants. Just giving them the most ideal conditions, because you have to assume they are coming from a greenhouse environment while also undergoing a lot of stress. So yeah, I think that is it for this video. I hope you guys learned a lot about acclimating and rehabbing your imported plants. If you do try this method out, let me know down below. I would love to know how that goes. And also, if you have any questions or if you think I missed anything, then just leave them down below. As always, I love chatting with you and seeing your comments. I am at Marble Queen on Instagram if you guys want to DM me there. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!